Oh. Hi, this is the Change and Grow Wellness Show, the show for you, the busy professional who wants to live a healthier, happier life with increased energy and productivity. And I'm Jackie Grant, and I'm a health and hormone coach. And I'm here with Michael, who is a hypnotherapist, the world's #1 confidence coach, which we will be talking about. And he has a passion for helping people overcome limiting beliefs. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Jackie.
So, Michael, tell us a bit about why you do what you do.
Why I do what I do? Well,
Yeah.
The essence of it is that I'm not happy really unless I'm helping people. So for the last 7 to 10 years, I was a cycling coach. We ran a community cycling club at Hyams Park School for 6 years until they decided to knock down part of the school and wanted the storage area that we were using to store 40 bikes. They took the space back, so basically we were forced out. We taught, I think, 700 children plus to ride bikes. They were between the ages of 5 and 10. And it was part of a contribution to the Olympic legacy in Waltham Forest. We got involved with the Cheney Road BMX track. That was a project, a Mayor's Legacy project. So I taught Boris Johnson to ride a BMX bike and not fall off and look stupid. Some people I didn't do a terribly good job, however. But so I just like helping people. And 12 years ago, I had a triple heart bypass. That's packed up. So I've had to overcome that. 5 years ago, my wife died of cancer, and I looked after her for 5 years. Before that, I had a lot of grief in my life. And when you then think you're retired and everything falls apart, you have to come back with something that you can communicate easily and simply. And the thing that I've overcome depression, I've overcome an addiction to sleeping pills, which I got after my heart surgery. So I know what it's like to have a lot of technical term is a lot of shit in my life, but I've been able to overcome it. And one of the things I realized 10, 12 years ago when the mortgage market collapsed and I retrained as a hypnotherapist, that my skill isn't necessarily in teaching people a technique. My skill is having the associated skills to help people optimize their performance. And by that, I mean to be able to take the thought that people have and trace it back to what's causing the underlying issue. See, confidence is simple, but it's not easy. And what I've come to the conclusion is that confidence is literally, when you're born with all the confidence in the world. And as a baby, you don't think about failure. You just copy other people. And what happens over time is that your confidence leaks away through experiences. But most of the filters you use to judge performance are based on past experiences of yourselves and other people. Not what full potential is. And that frustrates me. So when one of the things I sent through to you was, why is confidence like riding a bike? The thing about confidence is that when you're not feeling confident, the only way you can feel confident is to start doing something. And when you do something in a small way, you then start to change your belief. Your belief is then that you can rather than I can't. And we all work on such a narrow margin. So, for example, if we were looking at confidence with regard to coronavirus, I mean, you and I are sitting in Walthamstow. As far as we know, we haven't got any infected people near us. If we do the basic hygiene, then we're unlikely to be affected. Yet, according to the rest of the world, it's galloping down the street, knocking on every door. And, the government's coming up with lots of nonsense about closing this and cancelling big events. We live in London. London is about 12 or 13 million people now. It's insane to shut down London. It can't happen. It won't happen. So what you need is a direction to take you through. And as we were discussing earlier, if you worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow may never get here. There's no
Exactly.
point worrying about the past because the past is finished. And
Yeah.
you can't change what happened, but what you can do is that you can modify the emotional attachment to the result.
Mm.
There are certain things in life, like when a family member or a close friend dies, that you feel sad and you go through a grieving process. That's nature's way of helping you cope. But then if you hold on to the result and you go back and worry over it time and again, that's not right.
Mm.
And that's where
Mm.
I mean when I work with people. So because we can use either hypnosis or neuro-linguistic programming, we can actually go backwards and forwards in time. So it's possible to travel forward into the future and see what we need to do from where we are now to get the result that we would like. And a lot of the time, the first thing I do when I work with people is we go back into the past and clear all the rubbish that's there, because it's no longer necessary or it's no longer relevant. So sorry, I got carried away there. You can talk if you like.
You're frozen.
I'm frozen.
That gives me, you're frozen, so that's given me a bit of time to ask you what makes you number one, the world's #1 confidence coach. Tell me about that, Michael.
Okay, so what happened was I took a client to a day's training with someone, and I was reading a book about positioning. And positioning, when I was training as a hypnotherapist, my wife used to watch Paul McKenna on TV and say, "Why can't you do the same as him?" I can. But you see, the point is people recognize Paul McKenna because he's a celebrity. Now, I've trained with Paul 2 or 3 times now, and I realize that our experience in terms of technique is similar. But he has a position as he's seen as the front of room man.
Yes.
And when I was looking up, I thought, well, who's the biggest confidence coach in the country? And when I looked up, there wasn't actually anybody saying UK's #1. So I looked again and I thought, well, world #1. Let's see who it is. And I found America's #1, but no world #1. And then when I looked on my domain registration site and typed in Worlds #1 confidencecoach.com, I fell off my chair because it was available. Right? Now and this is all completely honest with you. I spent 4 days agonizing over was I good enough to be the world's #1, worrying about what other people think, which is complete bollocks because it doesn't matter.
No.
Because it's a label. So the point that I was making with that was to say to people, look, it's a label. My advice is the same as it was a week ago, but I'm now the world's #1 confidence coach. And what happens is that changes the perception of both the person that you're talking to, but more importantly, it changes your perception about who you are.
Yes.
Exactly. When you run your boot camps, people outperform their expectations without too much difficulty because their expectations are set so low. And I looked at it and I thought, well, how do I stand out against all the other coaches on LinkedIn, which is a platform that I'm quite working quite hard to try and develop. As soon as I put in world's #1 confidence coach, bosh, there it was. And it was immediately, there's no one else got that.
Yeah.
And I thought, it can't be that easy. Well, of course it isn't, because then you have to back it up. But if we go back and look in the past, there was a guy who most people remember for a variety of things, who started off as Cassius Clay. He was a boxer. And he went to the Olympic Games in Tokyo in 1964 and came back with a gold medal. But because of civil rights and restrictions on him as a black American, he wasn't able to be recognized as such. And so he threw his medal away because, he thought, well, what's the point? And then he decided that he would rebrand himself. So he rebranded himself as I am the greatest. Yeah. Eventually, he changed his religious outlook. He became Muhammad Ali, but he was talking about I am the greatest. So what happened then was that everybody wanted to beat him, but now he had an ego or an alter ego that he could use. He could adopt it like an additional persona. So then able to irritate the hell out of people who wanted to beat him, but he was good enough to back it up. And one of the classic phrases is, "It ain't bragging if you can back it up." Now, interestingly, last week I was talking with a senior social worker in Waltham Forest, who was a lady probably similar age and background to yourself. And we were talking about confidence, and sometimes she had confidence and sometimes she didn't, because she said it was contextual. And she said that she was brought up to think that bragging was wrong, that you know, if you did a good job, you would be recognised for it, and that it was against her religious upbringing to talk about how good she was.
Yeah.
See, one of the things that frustrates me is that most people try and hide from their own self, and they're worried what other people think. Now, what you know and I know is that nobody else cares because they're only thinking about themselves.
Exactly.
Right? So you can call yourself what you want. It doesn't matter. The only person it matters to is you. And she had in certain circumstances, she still had a gap of a small girl being inside an adult, mature woman with a senior position, worried about how she sounded. And I thought, well, that's crazy. And what I want to help people do is to close the gap between who they want to be and who they are on the inside, to get rid of all the stuff that they've acquired along the way that doesn't help anymore.
So what steps would you say would be, the first steps to actually do that?
The first steps I use, where are we? In 2012, I came across a concept called energetic NLP, which was working with people's energy and helping into universal energy. And when I first came across it, I thought, this is way too pink and fluffy. I was in a room with predominantly pink and fluffy women. There's a lot of pink and fluffy women in the wellness arena. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. It's just that they look at things in a very soft, focused way. And I'm a bloke, so I can only speak as I find. But I was too far from the door to get out without sort of interrupting the process. And what I found was, all of a sudden I found that I was experiencing things that I hadn't experienced for a long time in my life. And I thought, well, wow, maybe this works. So over the years, I've trained with the guy a couple of times, a guy called Art Geiser. And essentially what you do with energetic NLP is you go back and you just get rid of all the junk, all the ancestral programming, all of the stuff that you no longer need because you've outgrown it. And it just holds you back. So once you people's energy, you can reset their male and female energy, tap into universal energy, and then as the last stage of the process is to clear the adrenal glands and reset them, because most people are overstressed. So, unless you can find a way of cutting out stress, which most of us can't, it gives you a process where you're back in equilibrium. And that's something that I've used with people. The most dramatic story I can tell you on that is that I had a Mrs. Khan that I was working with, and we worked together for about 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours in terms of sessions. Second session, she said, was someone supposed to be with me? And I said, well, I don't know. Why do you ask? She said, well, I got the strongest impression that my guardian angel was with me. And I thought, wow, right? So when you start working with people's spirits, or psychic energy or spiritualism, you don't have to believe it, because it works whether you believe it or not. And I use it with everybody purely and simply because it's such a simple, non-invasive way to help people get rid of the junk, but also to identify other things, because working with people as a hypnotherapist, some people will come to you for one thing and then something else will come out.
Yeah.
They may not want to address, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not in the business of delving into people's secrets. And sometimes you simply have to park those excessive emotional feelings. So you're going to say to me now, where do you put them, Mike? Well, the interesting thing is, most of the time, if you can put them on the far side of the moon, the dark side of the moon that you can't see, right? Because they're far enough away that they can't impact you anymore, okay? But also you can't, if you can't get to them, or you couldn't until the Chinese claim that they landed a rocket on the back of the moon. But anyway, so you just take them out, and as long as they're far enough away, they no longer impact how people feel about themselves.
So, I mean, how can people practically do that?
Well, what I've got is I did a recording with a lady called Annie. I was teaching her how to use energetic NLP. So I will send you. I've been trying to get it up on my Facebook page so that it's accessible. But what I will do, I'll send it through to you. It's about a 45-minute training. Basically, people can listen to it and go through the process. The process with energetic NLP will bring you calmness and serenity. In Annie's case, I also taught her to clear the room of the negative energy that may have been there. Now, she was an interesting lady. She was an African lady who felt that she had the ability to see into the future. But she was also from quite a strong religious background. So, basically, when we cleared the room, she was, in terms of energy, she thought, okay, it's a little bit, and she, and then 3 days later, the plants on her kitchen windowsill came back to life. Now,
wow.
I can't claim the credit for that. I don't know how it happened, but all I can tell you is that it happened. There was another lady that I worked with who was diagnosed with a hyperactive thyroid.
Okay.
I wasn't familiar with it, but apparently it's like 1 in 200 women suffer with that sort of situation.
Yeah.
And she was due to have surgery, but she didn't like taking the tablets. And she was in a mess because there was a lot of stuff happening in her life which was outside her control. She was really desperate and at her wit's end. And I've been saying to her for 18 months, look, come and see me, I can help you. But because she had a fear of hypnosis, her words were, it's a tool of the devil. She didn't come to see me, but eventually she was at her wit's end and she sat on the sofa in my therapy room. And we worked together for probably 5 hours. And during that 5 hours, we were able to go back and clear all the junk that was going through using energetic NLP. We came to the part where we were cleansing the adrenal glands. Her adrenal glands, in her mind, her visualization, they'd ceased to exist.
Right.
They were completely black and shriveled. And it took probably half an hour on each of them to what we do is we mimic taking them out and washing them in the clarified energy that's created by the energetic NLP process.
Okay.
Once they were put back, I thought nothing of it, to be fair, and she personally wasn't sort of paying that much attention, but she also then shared a lot of stuff about a toxic relationship, which, to be perfectly honest, I would prefer not to have known, but it was a necessary part of the process.
Yeah.
What happened when she went back to the hospital? They said, "What have you been doing?" And they said, "Well, how do you mean?" And she said, "They said, have you taken the tablet?" She said, "No." She said, "Well, what's wrong?" And they said, "Well, we can't believe it. Your thyroid gland is now completely normal." Now, so lots and lots of stuff that we have going on inside us relative to past experience, some of it is incredibly toxic.
Mm.
You know, until you can drain the poison and get the demons out, then you can't really move forward and have a free life. I mean, you people in terms of energy and hormones. You know, I know that your passion is about helping women go through manage the menopause. You know, my passion is purely and simply helping people get to the point where they can look the world in the eye and say, "Yeah, okay, come on, I'm ready." And that's what I love. I mean, you know, teaching children to ride bikes was a little bit like that, because, you know, once you learn how to ride a bike, you've got that confidence forever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so there's not. What frustrates me also, in preparation for today, I was going through a bunch of psychological tools, and psychology wants to, or seeks to, teach everybody to understand what's happening. You know, and then we have mindfulness, and then we have all sorts of other things.
Yeah, loads of different things.
And it's confusing. And I was going through the terminology for this psychology thing, and I'm thinking, Christ, you know, you've got all these huge long words. You know, I know what they're talking about, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So the other part of my passion is to simplify it. And I have people telling me it's not that easy. I didn't say it was easy. I said it was simple. It's not complicated, because all of the tools that I use, typically you can learn the tools on the internet, but the tools don't work all of the time, and they all work, but not necessarily in the right order. So my strength is being able to, if we take a needle phobia, for example, there's one guy brought his daughter to see me. She had a needle phobia, and by the end of the first session, the needle phobia had been redefined as a panic attack.
Okay.
So we'd moved it from one thing to another. She was, but the only way that I could avoid her over analysing everything that we did was to keep jumping about, because one of the techniques that works quite well for hypnosis is the confusion technique, because what you're looking at when you take people into a hypnotic trance, you're looking at them being able to bypass the critical factor. So we want to get the logical mind offline so that we can negotiate and work direct with the subconscious. But the subconscious is a slippery little devil. So sometimes you have to create stories and visual imagery. And some, you know, people look at it and say, well, that's daft. But that's their conscious mind talking. Most of the time, they don't want to be wrong either. And that's their ego, because their ego has a role of protecting them and ensuring that they don't lose status, which is why people are reluctant to admit weaknesses to people, because they don't want to be judged. And sometimes the person who does the worst and most aggressive and nasty judging is that person themselves, in terms of their inner critic. And that again is just something that I just like to. I've gone through all that. You know, being depressed is not a fun event.
Yeah.
It frustrates me when I see people who've never been depressed circulating memes that, if you reword depression, it means I pressed on, right? And I think, well, it's not a fucking lifestyle choice, mate. You know, it's a serious bloody illness. That may help some people, but I think sometimes that's just other people attempting to be clever. You know, I just that frustrates me. Sorry, that's who I am.
Fair enough, Michael. But it's been really interesting. So tell us where people can find you on Facebook or your website or.
Okay, I've been suffering technical issues because I'm rewriting my my website. as you and I have known each other a while, and you said to me you didn't know that I was a hypnotherapist. So, there are things that people don't know about what I do. So what I've done at the moment, if you look up Confidence Transformation Guy on Facebook, you can find me there. That's a page that I've just reloading at the moment. There's a couple of sessions that you can book through there if you want some help. But I also have a 20-minute discovery call. You can book a call and, we'll just sit down and have a chat and see whether or not there's anything that I can help you with.
Brilliant.
So that's the simple way.
Great. So what are your final words around confidence for our listeners?
My final words are I got fired as someone's coach once, and I found that really sort of frustrating. And the reason they gave me for firing me was that I believed in them more than they believed in themselves.
All right.
And I didn't see that as an issue, and I still don't. So when I start out with people, I'm quite willing to share my confidence and belief and help them get rid of the beliefs that are holding them back. I mean, in a 60 to 90-minute session, most of that, clearing the energy, it gets rid of the low-level anxiety, but it also allows people to then have the control to decide where it is that they're going. So, confidence is one step at a time. I think most people start in the wrong place because most people have a belief structure which is out of date. And when I talk about mindset, my whole issue is if you understand yourself first, then you can make sense of the rest of the world. And we're never taught how to understand ourselves. I mean, when you talk with your clients and you're freezing various parts of your anatomy at sort of 6 o'clock in the dark and the wet and the cold, right? That's a transformative process.
That is.
Right?
Totally.
But the beauty of it is that, humour, laughter, genuine laughter will drive out fear. So, I like to use humour. I use it as a distraction because whilst people are interrupting the pattern that they normally run, right, it gives me the opportunity to slide in some wisdom.
Brilliant. So thank you, Michael, for that tonight. It's been really interesting. Give people a little bit of insight into how they can develop their confidence, or contacting you to find out how that they can, build their confidence even further by using NLP, hypnotherapy, and your energy work that you do. So thank you very much.
Jackie, thank you for the opportunity. I will send some more information over to you. I'm just trying to sort of find out where I've put it, because one of the reasons I had to come back to life as a confidence coach and get stuff recorded is that I'm getting to that wonderful part of my life where I forget things.
Yes.
So
fair enough.
If I don't record it, it didn't happen.
Well, I'll make sure that I chase you for it as well.
All right, darling. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Take care.